Passion, drive, and patience. The formula of winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything for you to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has it covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices that you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP it needs to be and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Again, ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Welcome to the Wrestling Show. My name's Seth Kushner. I am with the Gary Cantrell. Gary, what's going on, dude?
Dude, what a week with the King and Queen of the Ring. Been pretty exciting. How's your week been going?
Everything's been going well so far. I only saw a couple of stories on Twitter this week about wrestling that, kind of, sucked me in. We'll get to it in a little bit. I don't want to come out hot with the racism stuff or alleged Instagram racism stuff.
Wow.
Well, we'll see. Listen, this is just stuff I see on Twitter. I don't even know if it's true or not. Because I'll tell you this, Gary, because, this will just tell you what I saw on Twitter that I thought was true until you just told me. There were rumors that Bianca Belair was pregnant. And so, now when you just told me she won last night, I'm realizing that's probably not true.
Dude, yeah, there was a whole thing on Instagram. Montez Ford, he had put like father of 7 or something. Like Reddit was blowing all up about this. I was like, wow, this is like a odd thing to be blown up about.
Yeah, it was Montez Ford changed his bio to I guess it was like father of 2 to father of 3 or something like that, or 7 or whatever it was.
Yeah, now it's father of 7.
Yeah, so everybody started going crazy. And then they said that Bianca got pulled from house shows, which again, who's they? I don't know. They is just people that tweet. So
yeah,
that's what I was going off of this week, which obviously that was shot down by the fact that Tiffany did wrestle Bianca. We'll get to that. But I guess we should start out hot with, they had the ultimate time killer in wrestling last night. They had the contract signing between Logan Paul and Cody Rhodes, which is going to end with a table getting flipped over or something like that. That's general. How did the contract signing go last night, Gary?
It was WWE contract signing 101, a bunch of talking, and then a guy goes through a damn table. And I mean, look, it was interesting. I like the whole thing that Cody was saying about when you get in the ring with me, you're going to find out who the real Logan Paul is, and you're going to figure out where you stand within this company. He's like, wow, you could do flips, big deal. He was really dressing down Logan Paul because
like
last week,
John Cena type promo, right? Sounds like.
Very, very similar, because last week, Logan had more of the talking going on because he was the guy that was coming out and challenging him. And so now this was Cody's response. And this is one of those times where Cody just looked really strong, really confident in what he was saying. I know with the lead up to WrestleMania, it was so much of the final boss, just dressing him down almost on a weekly basis. You're like, God, Cody, will you just stand up for yourself? And he would. Not that he wouldn't, but it just seemed like for the most part, he was always kind of underneath in terms of the promo. But here, it's kind of the other way around, where he's really taken the lead on this, and then Logan Paul's kind of following his lead.
How do you think Logan Paul's doing so far? And the main event spotlight that he's in right now, obviously SummerSlam isn't in his hometown of Cleveland. This isn't in his hometown that we've talked about before. So I know that Cody is talking about, we'll see who the real Logan Paul is. I think a huge part of the match is going to be Cody making sure that Logan is comfortable and can do everything that, they talked about doing. So how's Logan Paul looking in the spotlight? Is he looking as strong as they probably want him to look?
I know I'll get a lot of heat for saying this, but goddamn, man, he looks tremendous in this spot. This is what I've waited for. Obviously, we know he's not going to win, or it's going to be some fuck finish, I think is what you said last week. So I feel ultimately he's not going to come out on top in this match, but he's going to look good in defeat. And that's really what, to me, is the most important. And I think it's lost in wrestling so often it's yeah, somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. And people just go, oh God, we're beating this guy and beating that guy. It's not that big of a deal if you get creative enough to make the person look strong in defeat. So my point is to that, if Logan Paul goes out there and has a 35-minute just barn burner with Cody Rhodes, which he absolutely can, we're going to see some really good stuff. I just, the whole Saudi Arabia thing, that's a weird crowd. We're not going to really get the France. Well, that's an anomaly in itself, but or even an American crowd, New York, Chicago, whatever. So
Well,
I
Saudi
think
loves us. They love the wrestling.
no, I think they do, but they're not exactly like the loudest and the most like when you watch those shows, it's kind of like they're into it. You see them like jumping around, but like they're not really loud. And usually in those stadiums that they run, the sound just gets kind of lifted up anyway, so you don't really get immersed into it.
I am willing to bet that the Saudi crowd, I feel like from having watched it the first year they were over there, whether it was, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 7, I don't know how long ago it was, but when
Yeah,
they used to run all those Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns matches over there and stuff, I feel like
yeah.
the crowd's kind of been like warming up, warming up, warming up. And now I feel like they might get to the point where they finally feel like they can fully cheer and celebrate some of the women without getting shot and, dragged behind a pickup truck after the event. I think they've taken a few years to warm up, and now they'll give the wrestlers what they need to put on a great show.
That is quite the description.
Yeah, that's just what I imagine, Gary. I'm sure everything's on the up and up over there. So Cody and Logan, that's taken care of right now. What are the other big matches that we're looking forward to in Saudi next week?
Well, this whole thing is really built around the tournament. One of the only criticisms I have about it, like I have a positive feeling and a negative feeling about it. So this is what I mean by that. So the positive side of it is I like that they're bringing back this tournament. I like that they're making it kind of like it feels like it's very important. And so all that's great because historically this is like a lull period, whereas like, middle of July, they start ramping up to SummerSlam. So I like where we're at with this. My only complaint is that they're blowing through everything on TV, and I know they need stuff for TV to set up, so I understand that part of it, but the old school fan in me, Seth, remembers the 93, the 94, the 95 King of the Rings, where almost all the tournament plays out on the course of the 3-hour pay-per-view, and there's storytelling in that. It's like, okay, hey, this guy just went the limit. He went the full 15 in the first round. So now he's winded. He's going into the second round. The second round's 30 minutes. The final round's 60. So can he stay all the way through? That was a story they told with Bret Hart in 93. You had Owen in 94. And I kind of like that storytelling. I know Vince, a lot of people said Vince was not big on playing out tournaments over pay-per-views, but I just love that story of can somebody survive all night through multiple matches? That's the only thing I miss about it and my only complaint.
Are they gonna do any? Well, here's the thing too, Gary. Did they have SmackDown back then? Like, did they have to fill 5 hours of TV back in the day, or were they just doing Raw? Where I think it was probably just 9 to 11 back then. They weren't even on 3 hours.
Well, shit, back in those days, they were on for like an hour. I think it was like 1 hour, like the fastest hour in TV. And then they went to 2 hours when Nitro was a thing. When you got to the Attitude Era, that's when you had like the SmackDowns to fill and all that. So that's a great argument too. And I think it's completely fair. But I love that story of, especially if it's a baby face that you're putting over, like, let's bring it to modern day. Jey Uso, it's very likely he's going to be one of those guys in the finals. He's got a match with, who is that? Gunther, which is going to really just be very challenging for him. So let's say it's Jey Uso and you want to make Jey Uso in one night. How do you do it? You have him go damn near to the limit for 2 matches. And then when he gets to that final match, that 60-minute match, now the endurance has got to really kick in. Can he survive the entire night? That's where I think there's the pro of that argument of having the tournament in one night versus multiple TV appearances.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jey Uso versus Gunther is going to be amazing. To me,
Yeah.
I would like to see. I'd like to see the Usos get back together. I don't know how that plays into the Ultimate storyline. I think Gunther needs something. If he's not carrying around the IC belt, then I think he needs to be the king. Like I said, we've talked about him for a while, but I think he's too big of a headliner right now, who's kind of lost in the shuffle because he has to wait his turn for, whatever, whether it's, what's fucking God, who's the bisexual Undertaker? I'm forgetting.
Damian Priest.
Right.
We have to talk about him later. Yeah.
Right. Damian Priest or Cody Rhodes, like whether he has to wait his chance, like we know ultimately he's going to be the champion. So if they made him King Gunther or something, that kind of has a nice ring to it. I don't know. That's just me.
Well, I will tell you this. I would agree with that. I feel like Jay is going to get the nod here when they do face, but something I want to bring attention to is on Raw when you had Gunther and Kofi Kingston, which was an incredible match. And this could be one of those foreshadowing storytelling moments where After the match, Kofi in defeat is backstage, and he's kind of like nursing his wounds, and Karrion Kross walks up and tells him, hey, there's always time. It's like, are we seeing a potential turn for Kofi? Because one of my things is, I know that the New Day, they make a lot of merch money, and there's a lot of good money in being a babyface and selling merch, but I have been dying for them to break this damn team up for years, which has been an unpopular opinion. But Kofi Kingston as a heel, man, that really kind of excites me if they're going to go in that direction. That would be exciting to me.
Well, I mean, especially if he's with Karrion Kross, I mean, that would be, I mean, that's very fascinating. You know, the thing about the New Day is if it all depends on Big E, you know, I mean, like it looked like they were getting ready to break those guys up when Big E had his short title run. I like that they've kept it together. I like that, you know, Xavier has gotten a little bit more run. He was kind of always like the third guy. So it's been great to see that it doesn't seem like they're ultimately a tag team that gets like serious consideration for the belts these days. So, you know, maybe it is time. I don't know what happens if they both go over or what, but yeah, it could be time to shake things up over there. But I mean, if you're taking away the New Day and then you don't have the Usos anymore, I mean, I don't know how strong they want their tag team division to be. Maybe they like where it is. Maybe they're it's going to be something they don't focus on, but it seems like you're weakening it a little bit.
I would agree. I mean, I think we talked about this last week where they need more, or the week before where they need more tag teams, and that's something like an AEW does very well. It's one of the few things they do very well, but that is something that I think they could focus on going into the summer and maybe rebuild that, and we could see, especially if you're going into Survivor Series like in the fall. And I know they don't really do those 5-on-5 matches anymore, but God, man, I'd love to see those too. So if you had a couple of good, strong tag teams in the mix, and then you have some singles guys, and you could get to that down the line. But you know, the rumor mill has always said that they are, you know, kind of planning more ahead now as opposed to changing things every week. So I hope that maybe they're taking tag teams into consideration. I know, again, Vince, we mentioned it before, he was not fond of tag teams. Because he was more fond of the singles guy, because, you know, with the tag teams, you got to pay more. It's two guys, or if you just have one guy, you pay that guy. So that was kind of the logic back then. So maybe they'll change that now.
I had no idea that they were that cheap. Now, something you just told me I did not know, because I was flipping back with the Knicks Pacers game last night, that Jade Cargill lost her first match and she lost it clean.
Yeah, she lost to Nia Jax, man. That is, Nia Jax, they moved her over to SmackDown. They want to get her gassed up a little bit so they can do some good stuff with her. And I just, man, making Jade Cargill lose, that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, that to me is kind of like a head scratcher. But if you're looking at the Nia, how do we build Nia? You have her end Jade Cargill's undefeated streak. All right. I mean, I kind of get it a little bit.
Well, it looked like that if Jade would have won, she would have gone against Bianca, right? So
it might have been too soon for that. Maybe that's another reason they didn't want to go to there right away, which I understand.
Now, with Rhea Ripley out, you know, Bianca, dominant woman, Jade, you know, a dominant woman that we've talked about, you know, multiple times. Now, remember, Jade threw Nia out. Jade picked up Nia at the Royal Rumble when she made her debut, and threw her out of the ring. Do you think that they're building a story between Jade and Nia? Because before Nia won last night, Jade did have the upper hand.
Yeah, this is a great way to do it too. You give Jade her very first loss. Maybe this is also a transition now to maybe having her be more of a heelish down the line. Like, hey, you know, there's a little chink in the armor, as they say, as far as like maybe she's starting to get upset. She's starting to get really mad underneath, and it's going to come out in the next couple of months. So I do like that. I'm just like, man, it just seemed like a little too soon to beat her, but whatever, it's fine.
So I can't believe they had Tiffany Stratton lose. Now, here's what I saw on Twitter about Tiffany Stratton this week. Apparently, they showed Tiffany posted a clip on her story of when she, I don't know, punched Jade Cargill or something like that. And right. the audio that was dubbed over it was like, "Take that, you black bitch," something like that. Now,
was it like a song in the background, or was it just like...
You know how people pull those little, you know, snippets of whatever audio is viral or whatever, and I don't know how "black bitch" would go viral, but it looked like somebody took that, put it over. I don't know what happened. I don't know if Tiffany didn't listen to it or whatever, but apparently she posted it, took it down, and everybody on the unreliable people that I follow on Twitter were all saying this is the end of Tiffany Stratton. She just ended her push, all this stuff. Well, she was on TV this week. The alleged racist Tiffany Stratton fighting the allegedly pregnant Bianca Belair, and they had Bianca come out on top.
Seth, there are people that pay $13 a month to listen to these people talk and spew these random. I'm not saying it's all wrong, but when you listen to some of these guys talk, it's just like, really, like I could see where that could happen, like because I see it on TikTok all the time, where it's like you have this like this piece of audio, and then you can actually make your own video sync to that audio, and from there, you can make it fit however you want.
Getting the smile and confidence you've been dreaming about, all from the comfort of your home, isn't a total mystery with Bite Clear Aligners. Just don't be surprised if all your friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Bite Clear Aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
And if it fits really well and people laugh, it just goes viral. So that's probably where that originated from, probably on Instagram, unless it was like a TikTok over to an Instagram or whatever. That's kind of in the weeds. But yeah, I could see where that would happen.
I don't know. I was kind of sad when I found out Bianca might be pregnant, because I really just think the women's division is just a lot better with her, especially now that she's teamed up with Jade. So something I saw on Twitter again, and I think it was Vince Russo. Vince Russo said that Tiffany Stratton by far wears the least amount of clothes in WWE, and he thinks that to make her a bona fide heel, she should cover up more and be like, oh, you got to pay if you want to see this, stuff like that. I don't see her necessarily whoring herself out there. I haven't thought too much about her clothes or ring attire. I think all women generally are all showing their, stomachs, have a little cleavage, their, butts might be hanging out. Is there anything with Tiffany Stratton for you that, I'm not going to even say, is there anything with Tiffany Stratton that you feel like is too much, or you feel like she's right where she needs to be as far as what she's wearing?
No, I think she's right where she needs to be, and I don't want to say a bad word about Vince, because he's very kind, and he's done Bubba's show a couple times, and I think he's just posting these crazy things to get Twitter, engagement. It's one of those kind of things. And I mean, it's not a terrible idea. It's kind of like, kind of reminds me of like the right to censor idea that he had years and years ago, where like these guys, they came out dressed in like white shirts with the ties. And it was almost a way to like make them just look as unappealing as possible, because they had the Parent Television Council who was on their ass back in the 90s. So this was their idea, as like a fuck you to those guys. Like, we're going to make this right to censor group, and they're going to basically be a parody of you. So it's not entirely the same thing, but the idea of like taking somebody and making them look as unappealing as possible, I could see where that could work, but I don't know if that's the right person to do that with.
I'm just surprised that Tiffany Stratton did not win. It just seems like she's just fucking strapped with a rocket launcher to go right to the top. And, Bianca's not necessarily anybody that needs to be, the queen of the ring, but I could see it being something that Nia has. And then you keep Bianca and Jade together as tag team until you want to split them up and have them go against each other. Did you happen to see the Liv Morgan arrest video that it looked like surfaced this week?
No, I didn't see that. Only thing I saw was her on Raw this week attacking Becky Lynch, but no, I didn't see that. What's up with that?
Yeah, they had her. They had her when she got arrested for marijuana, and the cop pulled her over, and I guess she was kind of swerving in between lanes, and asked if she was on marijuana, and she's like, no, and he's like, why can I smell it? And she goes, oh, there's a vape in the car. And then they show her calling somebody who's like, I don't know. They're like, somebody left a vape in the car. I don't know, what's going on. So I don't know. It wasn't anything like that juicy. I think it's crazy to arrest people for weed, but she didn't have a medicinal marijuana card. So, I did learn that through watching.
If your state has a medical card and you want to smoke, get it. Trust me, it will cover your ass. I mean, now don't go and get high as a kite and go driving around town. I'm not saying that, but as somebody who does partake, because I will say this on just a quick sidebar, marijuana has changed me for the better in terms of like medicinally and getting off a bunch of prescription stuff. If you're going to be in that world, get that card. It's going to be some sort of insulation for you. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, no, I mean that's good marijuana advice here, and that's what we want to be. That's what we want to make sure that we dole out on the show. Man,
Yeah.
there was one thing that I wanted to talk about when we were going down that road, and now I totally forgot, Gary, and it's really really pissing me off, man.
Well, while you're potentially thinking about it, I mean, look, I was surprised to see Becky, as far as when she got attacked by Liv Morgan, and you had Lyra Valkyria come out. I think maybe they're teasing something there with those two. And that could be a fun, maybe like a down the line SummerSlam match. I'd like to see those two go at it because Lyra, when she was in like NXT and stuff, I always thought she was very impressive.
All right, here's what popped in my head.
There you go.
All right, Liv Morgan was from last time I heard was dating Bo Dallas. Maybe not anymore. There's been some Uncle Howdy promos that run, right? Because I feel like, unless I was dreaming, I feel like I watched something on Twitter last night that was like a 2 or 3 minute deal, and I can't remember if it showed Kane or what, but I feel like it was some sort of Uncle Howdy deal. Is that what it was?
Yeah, so they are ramping up this Uncle Howdy stuff. They've been throwing like QR codes on TV and random glitch transitions on their broadcasts. And so what we know so far, if you follow the rumor mill, air quotes, it's going to be Bo Dallas, Uncle Howdy, if you will. You've got Braun Strowman, Eric Rowan. I believe that's the three right now. There could be more. The rumors don't have Alexa Bliss in there, which is kind of interesting because she was a big part of that back when Bray was still with us. But for right now, those are the three that I've heard of. And I haven't heard anything as far as like when they're looking to debut them, but maybe as soon as after this upcoming show, I'm hoping. And or even Money in the Bank. Yeah, Money in the Bank's coming up. I think that's next month. Yeah.
I am fascinated to see how this plays out because I know that Taylor, Bo Dallas was somebody that they had tried to do the, believable. They had run so many gimmicks with him. He was Mr. Positive, and then he did that thing with what was it? They were the B team, and they
B plus players or B team or something like that.
Yeah, and then
Mr. Perfect's kid.
Oh yes, yeah, that's right. So then they brought back when Bray Wyatt Wyndham came back, he kind of came back with Uncle Howdy, who was his brother, and it looked like he wanted to bring his brother along because I know from being, friends with them, I know that obviously Taylor always felt like he was in Wyndham's shadow. And of course, Bray Wyatt always was pushed, a lot more than Bo Dallas. So it looked like Bray was bringing him along. Now, Gary, it looks like Bo is going to be the star of the show. Do they make Uncle Howdy a guy with a mask? Do they make him, is Bo Dallas going to be the leader of this faction? Is he going to lead a guy like Braun Strowman? Like, have you thought down the road more than just who's going to join this about like how it'll actually play out? What Bo Dallas, Uncle Howdy will look like when they finally do show him?
Well, they've shown that mask before, and it's like with that weird like top hat. I don't know if top hat's the type of hat,
no, it's a top hat.
I mean, he's got the long enough hair where he could almost get away with like a Kane-like mask. Like maybe he comes down to the ring with the big coat and the top hat and he takes the top hat off. And then you've got like a Kane-like presentation. But the thing about it too, and this is not a knock on his look, but he has that kind of look where he could have like a sinister laugh, almost like he doesn't even need the mask, but maybe it's something that's part of his entrance and then maybe he takes it off. But I'm kind of more fascinated with him leaving it on and having the hair kind of around because, God, Kane, like he was like balding like back in 98. So he had to have like a mask with like the hair attached and all that. And Taylor, he doesn't need that. So I think that could be an interesting look, especially with the technology of how they make masks these days. They can make it really realistic.
And look, we're not just pulling Kane out of thin air. I think mentioning Kane's name, I do think that Bo Dallas will wear a mask. I don't think that he'll speak at all. I think that he'll have guys that can talk for him. I think if you take a mask off and you start talking, I think you become Bo Dallas again. So I think that you can totally alter this guy's character and, make him sinister and do all of those things. So I just feel like, do you think that's why Kane was in the promo last night, the Uncle Howdy promo?
Maybe it's just kind of like a red herring. Maybe they want to make you think, because I don't know that he's necessarily coming back into anything like full time, but maybe it's just like a nice little, hey, we're going to throw this out there and see see what people think about it and get people talking. I mean, look, the whole campaign as a whole, like the QR codes, and like there's a guy on Reddit that like tracks every single one, and he has like a new post every time they do this where he analyzes it in deep, and then he reminds you of like the 3 before that or whatever. I mean, it's very creative. It's very much like what they were doing when Bray was coming back in late 2022, where they had like the rabbits and all this stuff.
What's been the biggest? I mean, from this guy breaking down, the promos and the QR codes on Reddit. What's blowing your mind? What's been the biggest clue or the biggest thing that he's dropped where you're like, wow, this could be massive?
Well, I haven't really actually got that vibe because I just know that it's going to be, Uncle Howdy. I haven't seen anything like any like little nuggets where it's like, oh, here's something I didn't know about it. So nothing I would say has necessarily blown my mind about it, but just the fact that they're so creative that they insert these things, that kind of, and it, I'm an editor at heart. I'm a videographer. Like these are the kind of things that excite me, like the little Easter eggs they drop. So from that standpoint is where I'm more excited, is how they're executing it versus what the message is, because I kind of feel like I already know for the most part what it's going to be.
Yeah, I like that this isn't rushed. I think when they bring, whether it's the Wyatt Six or whatever it eventually is called, I think that it'll be the top faction in WWE. It's going to blow everybody's mind, and I think that however they decide to work that into all the other matches and where those guys fit in storylines is going to be fascinating. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say, and I might sound like a broken record with this, but we do have Triple H at the helm, so maybe it's actually going to get to play out now versus 2022 when Vince was there and it wasn't, fully fleshed out.
And this is just me totally speculating, but I think that they are going to make sure that this is perfect because it will be part of Bray Wyatt's legacy, and I think that they all know. Obviously, they love the guy, his brother, his friends, like they were all brothers. But this is something that Bray started. He brought these guys along, and I think that they want to make sure for Bray Wyatt's WWE legacy, for whatever that's worth, that this thing plays out perfectly, that if they need to pay homage to him in any secret way, subtle way, that they take care of that this thing doesn't get jobbed out. That's kind of my feeling. Like when this comes, it's going to be big.
Well, to your point, and I don't want to sound negative at all because I think it will turn out great, they have to. Like, you cannot fuck this up because this is Bray Wyatt and you don't want to shit on that man's legacy. So, yeah, for better or for worse, they have to make this work, and it has to be as amazing as it can possibly be. And to somebody like Taylor's credit, I don't know him like maybe you have when you've worked with him, but I believe in his mind that he's like, I don't want to mess this up. I want to honor my brother, but I also want to create something that's going to take us through the next 10 years. Maybe not, I hate comparing like, oh, this is like an Undertaker, this is like a Stone Cold or whatever, but like something along those lines where it's like, this is a new legacy type character, which they can take into the next 10, 15 years. So it's very important that they make this work as much as they possibly can and give it the best chance possible. So we'll see what happens.
Totally agree. And I'm glad that we kind of stumbled upon that. So,
yeah.
Because listen, man, these Uncle Howdy promos freak me out. That's why I don't know if they're nightmares or if I'm just watching them in the middle of the night when I can't sleep at all. So what is the official name of the premium live event next week, Gary?
So that is the King and Queen of the Ring. It's very mouthy.
King, you have to add the women. I mean, it's nice that they're doing it in Saudi Arabia. We're probably going to get like a 1 p.m., 12 p.m. kind of start time, you think?
Yeah, that's correct. So when we go to record next week, it'll be a few hours before, and we'll be able to lock in our final predictions and all that. I would hope that maybe next year they come up with something a little different, like figure out something that's like royal sounding and something with tournament in there. Maybe not that exact phrasing, but King and Queen of the Ring. Like, think about it, if you're a broadcaster. I mean, you broadcast every day, Seth. Like, could you imagine having to mouth that out? Like you're resetting the table for people that are just tuning in. Welcome to the King and Queen of the Ring. Like, it's very mouthy.
I think just because we come from when it was just King of the Ring, I think that it seems like it's bigger, but in essence, we are just adding 5 letters. But we'll see. I did think it was a little bit long, but now that I'm going King and Queen of the Ring, it works. It works for me right now. So
fair enough.
We'll see how they receive it in Saudi Arabia. I think we should do like an Instagram prediction show, maybe right before the event, and I think we should record an episode right when the King and Queen of the Ring is over next week.
Yeah, so just to set the table for those before we get out of here. So in the semifinals coming up, we have Lyra Valkyria versus Io Sky. That match should absolutely slap. And then you've got Bianca Belair and Nia Jax. I hope that Nia doesn't beat her up too badly there. And then in the men's side of it, we have Jey Uso and Gunther, and Tama Tonga versus Randy Orton, which I'm definitely excited to check out.
Wow, that'll be very interesting, man. It's time for Randy Orton to get some more run, and I just don't know if it's as King of the Ring, but we'll find out, man.
Yeah, you got to go back and watch some of the highlights from their match last night. It's on their YouTube. Orton and Carmelo Hayes, they had a really good match last night, and the Tama Tonga LA Knight match was kind of there. It didn't really blow me away. I think the Orton match was the better of the two. So if you got time to watch one, you and the people listening, go check out the Orton Carmelo Hayes, because that was really fun.
We will see how the Saudi crowd steps up if they were challenged by the French, or if they're completely indifferent and don't give a fuck. So we'll check that out next week.
Well, you know, I think it was like 2018 or 2019 was the first Saudi show, and I just remember like this is before they started opening up tickets to everybody. They were essentially like giving them to like the richest people. So you saw guys in like these like luxury like chairs and couches in the front row. If you go back to the very first event, it's on Peacock, and you'll see all these guys like sitting in these just fancy like plush couches and chairs, and they just sitting there like they don't give a shit, and their kids are just like running around just like, you know.
Well, I mean, originally, I mean, like I said, it's kind of evolved, because originally women weren't even allowed to go over there, right? Now now they have to cover up and all that stuff. But it's progress, people. Okay.
Well, WWE was like, hey, you know, like we're into this partnership for like, I think it was like 5-10 years, whatever it is. I think they actually re-upped it, but like they're like, you know, if you want people to like take this a little more seriously, you're gonna have to let us have some women come over. If you want to put up this image that you guys have changed, and that you're more friendly to the women as opposed to just covering them up and beating the shit out of them or whatever you do. The thing about it is like they were like, we need to have women come over here. Like, we will make sure they're not like they are in America, but we need to have a presence so that we can show that things have changed. And then somewhere in 2020 or 21, when they went over there, they allowed them to come over. So good for them.
Man, people are gonna freak out when fucking Tiffany Stratton's dressed like a mummy. So we will we'll find out. We'll find out how that all plays out in King and Queen of the Ring from Saudi Arabia next week. And Gary and I will be doing some pre and post shows. You guys will find it. We'll let you know about it. Thanks, Gary, man.
Yeah, thank you, brother.